Hi, for my inquiry assignment, I chose to attend Elizabeth Smart's keynote address that was held on Wednesday. In it, she talked about her book she most recently released that brings in experiences of other people who've gone through hard things. And she talked about her experience of being abducted. And during that time, she underwent horrible things, captivity, abuse, and one of the really prevalent things was sexual abuse and rape and these things, which is awful and horrible. But she offered some really poignant and important things that I'd like to share. She talked about the importance of forgiveness and loving yourself enough to move on and forgive people for what they've done. And obviously that's much easier said than done. But she also talked about in the hearing, as they're listing off the facts, she said, "This isn't my story. I'm so much more than that, as in so much more than the facts." And I think victims oftentimes feel like they are defined by what has happened to them, but that's not the reality. And also, she talked about how it was so hard for her to talk about it, let alone write a book or anything, make a movie. But as she saw other victims talking about their experiences and how they've survived, that she found inspiration from that and was inspired to be an advocate and obviously write books about it, which is amazing. And that stood out to me as testifying of the importance of reaching out and the therapeutic process that it can be to talk about these things. But I mean, obviously I can't even imagine what it's like to talk about those things. But the importance for me to be there, to reach out to people and to help them through these things can be really helpful, hopefully. And to put that in context of our classrooms, these matters are going to be present in our students' lives. Unfortunately, it's so prevalent and so real. As people were asking questions at the keynote address, many of them had experience with rape and assault. So it's going to be there, and it's going to be hard to deal with. And obviously there are rules set in place and logistics about how teachers function in that role. But I want to create a culture in my classroom that, first of all, does not condone, support, or do anything that supports sexual assault. I want it to be very clear that that's unacceptable, even if that's under the guise of banter or humor or these things. And then also, Elizabeth Smart talked about how as she was undergoing these things, she always thought that despite whatever happened to her, her family would always love her and they would always still accept her. And I want to be able to build a culture and a relationship where the students feel loved and valued. And it's not my role to be a therapist. It's not my role or my place to do those things, but to be an advocate for the students, to be supportive, and theater can be a really helpful tool to kind of deal with some of these things. I don't want to be confused for saying that it can be a form of a solution or that it's safe to delve into those things, but certainly it can be helpful in healing processes and things like that. A final thing that she said was, "When I look in the mirror, I see a survivor. I'm proud of that." It's a strong word. It's so true. People who have undergone these things are survivors, and they're so much more than that. And I want to help people who have suffered these things to feel valued and loved and important and amazing. And I hope to be able to do that in the classroom in cases if I were to come across students that have experienced these things. So thanks.